First thing we're going to go do that we'll do is we'll take a look at large intestine 11. So large intestine 11 is the He point, the He-sea or He uniting point on the large intestine channel. That's the important thing we need to sort of keep in the back of our head when we are looking at why that point is doing what it's doing. So I'm sure if I were to ask, I like to go through this exercise, but we only have an hour, so we're not going to do the exercise the whole way through. I'll say, what does large intestine 11 do? And everyone will say, you can say it silently to yourself. I can read the lips. It clears heat, right? Of course, that's what we're all taught large intestine 11 does. And yes, it does clear heat. But did we ever stop to think why large intestine 11 clears heat? Or why does large intestine 11, for example, descend liver yang rising? And even though large intestine 11 is a TCM point, and it's not, we don't have a point there in Dong's acupuncture, Master Dong was familiar with and did use large intestine 11 in his clinical treatments. If, for example, you were to go and look at what Master Dong actually wrote and left for us in his original text back from 1973, he had a chapter there on his use of conventional acupuncture points. And we translated that chapter of his Chinese language book into the atlas with commentary. And so you will see there that he used the combination of large intestine 4 and large intestine 11 for the treatment of headache. And he didn't tell us why. He didn't give us a theoretical analysis of why, but I'm going to suggest that one of the reasons we can use large intestine 11 for headache, with or without large intestine 4, is because it has a descending quality of the metal phase, so as to put things back into the box. So it treats things coming up and out. And just to clarify, someone asked this question. In this case, I used large intestine 11 and Shenguan bilaterally. So I did that because we're not exceeding the number of needles we used. But you don't necessarily have to use them bilaterally, but in this case, I typically do use them bilaterally. So let's talk about what large intestine 11 does, maybe why it even clears heat, right? Because it's not enough to memorize, oh, large intestine 11 clears heat. It's not an herb. Large intestine 11 is not shirgao. It's not, right? It's not something that you eat that has a cooling effect. Large intestine 11 can have a cooling effect, warming effect, regulating effect, depending on the patient and how we're combining it with other points, right? So let me bring this up real quick. So let's talk about how acupuncture can move qi and blood in the body, or one of the ways we can look at its ability to move qi and blood in the body. So this is a quote from chapter 44 of the Ling Shu. It says, so most of us know that the Ling Shu Suen, the Huangdi Neijing, is a conversation between Qibo, who was the Yellow Emperor's teacher, who was a physician, and the Yellow Emperor. So here it says, the Yellow Emperor asked, I hope to hear about the qi of the 4 seasons. And Qibo replied, spring engenders, summer flourishes, autumn harvests, and winter stores. This is the constant of qi, and a human also responds to this movement, right? This is an 8-character sort of grouping of this idea of the season does something that we see repeated several times throughout the Neijing and Nanjing, right? So spring engenders. Spring is wood phase. Spring is about everything starting to come up and out. Summer is the flourishing, the absolute most yang, right? So that's why wood is the beginning of yang. Summer is fire is the maximum expansion of yang. Then we have autumn is harvesting in, so autumn starts to bring things down and in. This is what the lung is supposed to do. This is what metal is supposed to do, right? Metal is supposed to bring things down and into the body. And then winter is storage. So what do we have in this patient? We have a breakdown in the winter storage, right? The kidney is insufficient. We have the metal, because the kidney is weak, the metal is also not doing its thing. It's not bringing things down and in. And we have too much of the yang going out. So that's where the breakdown in the movement of the 5 phases is happening. Now, when it comes to acupuncture, This is a quote from the Great Compendium, Volume 5. This is a translation by Lorraine Wilcox. This is based on chapters from the Nanjing. It says, in spring, needle the well point. That's the Jing-well point. The well belongs to the east in the spring, the beginning of life for the 10,000 things. So why in spring do we needle the Jing-well point? If we just think about the dynamic movement of the body, we can look at it through the lens of yin and yang. So when we're looking at yin and yang, distal is yang, proximal is yin, right? You all learned this in Chinese medicine school at some point. Why? Just like, look at it. My fingers are a lot more mobile than my shoulders, right? A lot more little quick movements here. And my shoulder is really mobile, but not as much as this. So this is more yang compared to shoulder, which is yin. Distal to proximal is yang, yin, right? Same thing on the feet. The feet are yang compared to the hips are yin. Now, upper and lower. Upper is more yang, which is why my fingers I can grab a pen more easily with my fingers than my toes, right? Because the toes are yang, but not quite as yang as the hands, because the toes are lower body, which is yin. Get the idea? Nothing escapes basic theories of yin and yang. Now, when we're looking at the Jing, Ing, Shu, Jing, He points from the model of the 5 antique or the 5 Shu points, the Jing wells are more yang, the He are more yin, which is why on yin channels, the Jing well goes with wood phase, the He points go with water phase. Now, I'm going to suggest that even though on the yang channels, the 5 phase associations are different, they're maybe not that different, right? So, and that discussion we can have maybe in October. So even though on the yang channels, the He points are earth or soil phase, they still have a water nature in that they bring things down and into storage. Right, let's go back to the slide. So here it says, in spring, needle the well point. So let's say someone's unconscious, right? And you're out somewhere, in the United States, maybe you're in Colorado or wherever there's more rural space. And someone's unconscious, you called 911 or whatever you guys call for emergency services, but you're waiting. What point do you needle to restore consciousness? One of the points we can needle is the Jing-well points, right? The Jing-well points open the orifices. Why do they open the orifices? Because they say, springtime, wake up, come out of winter, everybody. Now, in this patient, the problem is not coming out of winter, the problem is going into winter. He wasn't able to bring the qi down and into the kidneys and the lower jiao. So what do? We go to the next section here. It says, in winter, needle the uniting point. The uniting belongs to the north in winter when yang qi enters storage. Thus, it is called uniting. So we're using the He point to bring the qi down and in. And the reason we use it on the large intestine channel is because it has the ability to move the metal phase down and in. Get the idea? So large intestine 11 can move things down and into a state of storage. When we do large intestine 11 in actual clinical application in this patient, needling large intestine 11 takes the Sun position on the right wrist, the metal position, and it moves it, basically it makes it more even. So it's no longer as full and floating. So we know immediately that the metal is starting to descend, right? The other thing about the large intestine 11, it's the earth point on the metal channel, right? So earth point on the metal channel has the ability to supplement the metal, right? The basic rule of supplementation and drainage is we supplement the mother and drain the child. Someone made you memorize that at some point, and it's actually important, right? So we're using the earth point on the metal channel to strengthen large intestine metal and its ability to go down and in. This is why it treats uprising of liver qi, right? So we have like yang rising, liver yang rising, we can use large intestine 11. Why? Because it strengthens metal to control wood. Get the idea? Now, why does large intestine 11 clear heat of like the entire body, right? when we drain large intestine 11, if we drain the earth, what's the relationship between earth and heat, or earth and fire? You can type it into the chat room if you think about it. What's the relationship between earth, since it's an earth point, right, and fire, heat, because heat's a subset of fire. The five-phase relationship there is another mother-child relationship, where now earth is the child. This becomes really important when we go down, exactly. So fire is the mother of earth, which means if we have too much heat in the body, this becomes very important when we talk about the next set of points. If we have too much heat in the body, then we can drain fire by draining earth. So draining the earth point on the large intestine channel actually can drain Yang-ming fire. Get it? So when we're doing needle technique, if you're doing draining needle on large intestine 11, you essentially can drain Yang-ming fire because it's on the Yang-ming channel. Get the idea? So it's not enough to say, okay, large intestine 11, why does it clear heat? Why does it descend the yang? These are things that we have to sort of understand when we're applying acupuncture points. Okay, so that's the large intestine 11. In this case, in his case, we're not doing strong draining technique because his heat presentation is not full heat presentation. His heat presentation is the yang not going down into the body, and it's not heat of the Yang Ming, it's only really of the heart. So in his case, we can actually do supplementing needle on large intestine 11 because that strengthens the metal's ability to go down and in. Get the idea?